Well, I just finished watching the Cuphead Show. Now, full disclosure, I'm going to be a little bit biased because Cuphead is one of my favorite games of the last few years, and when I heard they were doing a Netflix TV series adaptation, I was, granted, pretty excited. I stayed away from any form of spoilers or even some of the trailers. I saw the one little clip of King Dice, and that was about it, and I went into the show mostly blind. Now, keep in mind, in these quick reviews, I stay far away from spoilers, but also, this is an episodic series, so unless I go episode by episode spoiling the endings for each one of those, there isn't really much to spoil. All I can really say about the Cuphead Show is it's great fun across the board. It's not high art, it's not a masterpiece. Comparing this to something like Arcane when it comes to storytelling is just apples and oranges at that point. It's a completely different type of show. It's like a Saturday morning cartoon, but the art style, the voice acting, these little stories within Cuphead's really neat world, it's just fantastic. Now, like I said, it's episodic, and I saw some people complaining that it wasn't a big overarching story about Cuphead and Mugman having to deal with the devil. I mean, there's aspects of that make it into the show, of course. There's aspects from the game that make it into the show, but it really does stand on its own as its own thing, which I'm A-okay with. I would have been fine with a big overarching epic story about Cuphead conquering the devil that followed really closely to the game, where they run into all these different crazy kooky characters, even though that might be a little hard to work, which is why I think they went episodic. But again, I'm fine either way. Of course, just like with the games though, the animation is the highlight in the Cuphead Show. Everyone's so expressive, it looks fantastic, and one thing that caught me off guard was just the camera movement within some of the scenes. You'll see once you watch the show if you've already watched it. There are moments where they're just zooming in and zooming out this camera and panning from side to side. I'd show footage of it here, but Netflix doesn't really like having their footage up on YouTube too close after the release, so I'm just doing the webcam today for safety's sake. But it looks beautiful. They have it spinning around characters. Of course, there's some 3D models that you'll see throughout the show too, but they'll do this camera movement with the animation, and it's just beautiful to look at, and it really makes it stand out among the rest. In terms of animation, top tier by far. I love looking at this show. I was honestly a little bit concerned because I thought they wouldn't embrace that 1930s aesthetic as much as I would want them to, but they modernized it a little bit, and they definitely got the heart of it, I would say, and that's just fantastic to see. But as for storytelling, which is probably the low point of the show, and keep in mind, very high low point for what this is, they're just not very deep, enthralling stories because it's episodic and it's just a goofy little show, so that might disappoint some people. I was A-okay with it. Overall, it's just a fun show. The voice performances were great, the music's great. The stuff they took from the video games, though, I think shines a bit brighter than some of the music within the show, except for the instrumental stuff. I would say the instrumental stuff probably isn't as good as the instrumental stuff in the game, but the little songs that the characters sing, they're pretty fun. They get the job done. So overall, the Cuphead Show, I'd absolutely recommend people watch it. I have no trouble saying that. And if I had to give it a score out of 10, it's not high art, it's not a masterpiece. Comparing this to something like Arcane that I gave a 10 out of 10 to is pretty difficult. But I love the animation of it. It's just dumb fun, and dumb fun deserves attention when it's due. And while it's not the deepest thing ever, of course I'm biased. I'm A-okay with giving Cuphead a 9 out of 10. I'll give it that. The only real problems I had with this show, and this is a slight spoiler, it's nothing specific, it's just the second episode of this show is really played out. It's not super interesting. It's the one episode of the 12 that I was like, that's not great. I've seen that story a dozen times. It's just not incredibly interesting to me at this point. And I'm sure many of you will feel the same way, but I get why they did the story they did. It's a baby in the house story. They have to take care of a baby. That's just the premise of the episode. And I've seen that so many times with Tom and Jerry, so of course you can understand like why they did that for the 1930s aesthetic, have that story within with Cuphead and Mugman. I get it. I get 100% why they did it. It just wasn't super interesting to me. So it's not perfect. It's not perfect. It's not hilarious. It's just funny, and it's a fun show, and I think everyone that likes the game should check it out. If you're looking for a big overarching story, though, maybe give the Cuphead Show a skip. That's the only reason I can think somebody should pass up this show. But that's all I got to say on the Cuphead Show for right now. Kept it nice and brief. Go check it out on Netflix today. It's out at the time of this review going out. Give it a watch, and thank you all very much for watching this video. Like and subscribe to become a account. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.